Back again in Slay the God, Part 8, Episode 10. A Donghua that tells the story of an ordinary high school student who undergoes a sudden transformation into a night watcher due to the appearance of a mysterious worldwide fog that triggers the awakening of gods. A long and dangerous journey begins, where the MC must face gods of great power for the safety of the world. Okay, for those of you who haven't watched the previous episode, please watch it first to understand the story of this video. If so, let's go straight to the storyline. The goddess of the night Nyx, who was carrying an urn that was considered Hypnos. One of her children at that time also saw her son Danidus, who ran and passed him with all his might, becoming the opening of this episode entitled Regret. The extreme training in the Jiangnan Mountains continues. The remaining disciples use their own methods to get to their destination while avoiding the drones that continued to follow. Lin Chia, who was hiding amidst the rocks, pulled Cao Yuan, who happened to pass in front of him. The two continued their journey together. On the other hand, Shen Qingzhu, who as usual formed a group, was now seen trying to avoid the drones that were chasing him. In order for them not to be eliminated all at once, Qingzhu spread out his group, and his role was to divert the drones. After it was safe, they reassembled. That's when one of the disciples saw a map of the mountains on a tree branch. While Tuming and Moli, who rode in the car, were thrown away when the car they were riding in stepped on a mine, until now only less than 20 disciples remained. As the training was nearing its end, Gung Yuan asked his subordinates to run the last test that the disciples had to pass. Back to Tuming and Moli, after both of them were blown away by the effects of the explosion, both of them were carried away by the current of the river with a heavy waterfall. While Moli falls down the waterfall, Tuming manages to survive because he gets help from Lin Qi. For now, almost all the disciples have been eliminated, shot by paintball bullets from drones. Only a few are left. As for Moli, supposedly a strong woman, it seemed that she would not die because she only fell in the water. And although she was not eliminated, it seemed that Moli could not continue training. Elsewhere, Shen Qingzhu's group has also been dwindling. For example, the disciple who previously took the map parted ways with Shen Qingzhu because he was too focused on looking at the map. By the time night fell, there were only 9 disciples left. At the same time, Gung Yuan told the disciples that they should all realize that the Jiangnan Mountains have no end. That's what makes those who still survive still unable to reach their destination until this moment. And all the running around they did all day was considered completely meaningless. Gung Yuan is really not being kind to the disciples, guys. In addition, the punishment process is also still ongoing, where the fallen disciples must reveal the embarrassing events they have experienced during their lifetime. At that moment, a disciple who had previously protected Qingzhu from drone fire had to sit in the hot seat. Following this, Gung Yuan asked why he tried to protect Shen Qingzhu and why so many disciples admired him so much. The disciple, who regarded Qingzhu as a brother, recounted that he and his high school brother often went to the internet cafe, but because they were too noisy when playing together, the thugs in the place were not happy, and from then on, he and his brother were often beaten by the thugs. In that matter, he also did not want to tell Shen Qingzhu, who was about to take the college entrance examination. Well, although in the end, the disciple told Qingzhu about his problem. One day Shen Qingzhu suddenly skipped school and fought against the thugs. He felt he defeated a dozen of them. But because of this, he was punished and not allowed to take the college entrance examination, and he ended up doing only odd jobs. Shen Qingzhu was such a person, although he sometimes had a very bad temper, but in reality, he was a very gentle and caring person. For example, when Qingzhu was only with a brother who could no longer move his legs, he chose to be there, fighting the drones and getting eliminated with his brother. Chief Instructor Gung Yuan was speechless when he saw this. But it was strange because all this time, Shen Qingzhu had been cast as a cruel person. Previously, Tuming had also heard Cao Yuan say that Shen Qingzhu had also worked for half a year just to help pay off his friend's debt. He even had to mortgage his house just to make up the shortfall. With that kind of behavior, Tuming did not feel surprised that there would be many disciples who could have such a close bond with him. He was a manly man. The three of them briefly stopped their steps when they came to a long path. Tuming complained a little because he was no longer afraid to run. Now he had to use a cane to walk. Along with the flying drones, Tuming told Lin Qi and Cao Yuan to leave, and he himself would hold back the drones that appeared like a manly man. But suddenly, Lin Qi and Cao Yuan together picked Tuming up and continued on their way. Now only Lin Qi and his friends and the disciple named Zheng Zhong were left in the middle of the Jiangnan Mountains area. As for Molly, who knows where she was? But would Lin Qi be able to succeed? Because from the looks of it, Cao Yuan and Tuming didn't seem to have much energy left. Of course, Cao Yuan now felt that he had almost reached his limit. If he lost consciousness, he was afraid that he would cause Lin Qi as much trouble as before. He repeatedly apologized for this. Lin Qi replied that if Cao Yuan really wanted to clear his name, he didn't need to be too nice to him. During their conversation, Cao Yuan also felt that the two of them had something in common. They both didn't have any friends when they were children, and now he likes Lin Qi's personality anyway, not forgetting Tuming, who is now pretending to faint. Cao Yuan also told the story that when he was 6 years old and almost drowned in the river, he should have drowned himself. The most tragic story is that he took a machete out of curiosity and killed the people of his village, even though it was the terrifying power of his forbidden ruin that was active. But Cao Yuan completely blamed himself for not having good self-control. Calming him down, Lin Qi told the sinner not to think too much. If he can't run now, it's better if he just stays with Tuming, who pretended to faint there. Tuming immediately woke up and was sure he would stay there because he also didn't want to trouble Lin Qi later. Before that, Tuming gave Lin Qi 2 pistols, and that was the only thing he had that was not confiscated by the management. In the end, Lin Qi left alone while Tuming and Cao Yuan were there, and of course, they were both eliminated by the drones that had arrived. Now all that was left was Lin Qi and a disciple named Zheng Zhong, an NPC who was said to have now almost reached his limit because he got lost in the forest. While the MC was still moving quickly towards the finish line, the confusing terrain did not cause him to get lost at all. Because fortunately, although Lin Qi's divine power had been suppressed, the goddess Nyx's ability to activate when night falls had not disappeared, allowing him to talk to animals and rely on bats to guide his way. Gung Yuan, who was watching, felt that he should rush to the finish line to greet the winner. But along with that came strange signs, as Lin Qi's position suddenly disappeared and unidentified energy fluctuations were detected in the area around the mountains. In the midst of his escape, Lin Qi came to an abrupt halt when he found a man blocking his way, and of course he was the 16th seat of the Church of Ancient God, Lu Liang. The latter immediately unleashed a fist that knocked Lin Qi down and proceeded to kick him. The situation faced by Lin Qi is quite difficult because now his divine power is being suppressed. Meanwhile, the enemy could freely use his powers that had little to do with plants. As he did now, the grains he threw shot out like hot bullets that were so dangerous. To distract the opponent's attention, Lin Qi tried to utilize the bats, but it seemed that it was still not enough as the opponent could still find Lin Qi, who was hiding.
就这点能耐？
Lu Liang wondered why Michael's god agent figure was so weak, which made him think that the Lin Chi he met was a fake, but it couldn't be. After Lin Chi was knocked to the ground, his movements were locked by the vines that emitted a greenish aura. Lu Liang said that this Lin Chi was pretty cool because, from the start of the fight, he didn't say a single word. Along with that, Lu Liang gave two options, and Lin Chi had to choose one of them: join the Church of Ancient God or die. Lu Liang didn't give any threats at all, said Lin Chi, who told the bats to beat up the man. Well, although it didn't deal damage, at least it made Lu Liang angry. The tattooed man used his roots to pierce Lin Chi's body because he was being very brave. On the other hand, the urn that was considered the hypnos of the goddess Nyx's child fell, and to calm her child down, the goddess of the night told a story so that her child would not cry. The story will also have an effect on Lin Chi, who is in a state of crisis, and the power that will appear will drain a lot of his mental energy. So one day, a bear found a star. The bear then looked up at the sky and wondered where the stars actually came from. Could there be a big bear that looked like him in the sky? And then the little bear sent the star back to the sky. He thought maybe it had a bear in the sky. The little bear then went with the star to the edge of the galaxy until he found a small boat. Riding the boat, the bear entered the light of the galaxy and was faced with a large door. The little bear then knocked on the door he saw. And when the door opened while raising the star he was carrying, the bear said, "Hey, is this yours?" And the great bear in the sky said, "Yes, it is mine." A story told by the goddess of the night now has an effect on Lin Chi. In a bad situation, thousands of stars came down from the sky to rain down on the Jiangnan mountainous area.
小熊走过去，请举起来说，嗨了。小熊把心，你好，这是你丢的东西吗？
出国名字。
是啊，是啊，大熊却伸出手，欢迎回来，我的孩子。
The falling stars then entered Lin Chi's body, who instead transformed into a half-bear man, which gave him strength. And with that power, Lin Chi managed to turn the situation around in an instant. Back on his feet, it turned out that Lu Liang's body was just a projection. Together with that, Lin Chi was taken to the Church of Ancient Gods headquarters. One of them congratulated Lin Chi because, since the founding of the church, this was the first time all the members agreed that Lin Chi would be temporarily transferred there when he defeated the projection force. What they were offering was a very friendly negotiation. They would also gladly welcome Lin Chi to join them. All the strong men there were people who were extremely loyal to the three gods, and the three gods would also give Lin Chi very strong power. That was the sweet promise of this old man.
真教会欢迎对友善的交涉，图的力量，他们结下，甚至更极也将赐予你更强的力。
Unconcerned with the offer, Lin Chi shot the three god statues in front of him with Tu Ming's gun, which turned out to be paintball bullets, meaning that Lin Chi rejected the offer. He also said that everyone there didn't look like people he could be friends with. They looked more like criminals with tattered clothes that needed to be cleaned. After humbling the opponent, Lin Chi then returned to the previous place, and the negotiations conducted by the Church of Ancient God failed. Returning to Jiangnan Mountain, Lin Qi could feel that his mental energy had now been drained after the previous fight. In the other direction, Gung Yuan had managed to find Lin Qie, who had previously suddenly disappeared somewhere. While the condition of another disciple, the disciple named Zheng Zhong, had reached his limit. Mo Li was found unconscious at the edge of the cliff. As for Lin Qi, even though he seemed to have lost his strength, he still got up. That was why Gung Yuan would monitor first before taking action. From here on, the drones had also stopped attacking, and all Lin Qi had to do was head to the finish line with what was left of his strength.
袁总教官，要
全体重点集合。
Someone once said that if we are no longer strong enough to run, then we should think of something that makes us happy, something funny or beautiful. By thinking of such things, we can run very far. And now, Lin Qi was trying to ask himself, did he have such wonderful things all this time? No, he didn't. All he had was regret, because after reaching the finish line, he found out that the end point of the Jiangnan Mountains was the entire Changnan city, the place that the late Lao Zhao Kongcheng wanted to protect the most.
我想试着不要看起来。
原来进来人，
随风去
你也敢苍南吗？
哭泣，我不要偷偷睡，随风去。
With Lin Qi being the first and only person to make it to the finish line, he will also get an extra prize later on. At the end of the scene, we are shown Lin Qie in the asylum of the god, and he has just told her everything he knows about Lao Zhao, including what he is trying to protect him from. Goddess Nyx felt that Lao Zhao was a very good person, like life and death, like light and shadow. Lin Qie's remorse and Lao Zhao's light would eventually complete Lin Qie's life, and both would continue to live forever. That was the poem that the goddess Nyx made on the spur of the moment after she heard the story from her son. Together with the mission's progress rising to 51%, it made him gain new powers randomly. And that's the ending of Slay the God episode 10 this time, guys. Thank you for those of you who have watched until the end. Please like if you like this video, and dislike if you don't like it, and let's wait for the continuation in the next episode.